Hi, my name is Olivia Smith. I'm a senior here at Classical Magnet, and welcome to my capstone presentation. Today for you I will be doing a speed paint featuring my lovely friend Anjali Prasad, who was kind enough to be a model for me. What she did was fill out a survey which included things like her hair, her eye color, her skin tone, and other personal details like what her favorite color was, and along with, what her favorite mythical creature, what her favorite real life creature was, and kind of just an assortment of different character questions to get an idea of what her personality is, so that I would then use the results from that survey and create a character based upon those answers. For Anjali's character, I took a couple different aspects that she included in her survey, including that her favorite mythical creature was a centaur, and her favorite real-life creature is a shark. I thought it was an interesting kind of two animals to think of, and originally my plan was to only make her into a centaur and include her Indian heritage and kind of like the natural aspect of it, but then I was doing research about centaurs and looking how you draw them when I came upon this lovely creature called an ichthyocentaur, which is the combination of like a mermaid and a centaur and like a person. And that was when I knew that I had something going, and that's how this lovely idea was born. The first step that I start off with is a basic sketch of the character. This is where I mess around with pose and partially clothing and basic details like where the eyes, mouth, nose, and ears are going to be placed, as well as generally a very brief design of the hair, but I really get into most of my details when I do the line art. You'll see the sketch kind of briefly. It's the brightly colored, very incomplete looking like underlayer that the black is going above. I started Anjali's design looking at a lot of horses. I had to do another horse for another one of the capstone projects, so I was a little bit familiar with how like the legs worked and that kind of general idea, but I still like to look at references, and I like to be able to kind of confirm that I'm doing something appropriately. And then I looked at different pictures of sharks and figured out which shark I would like to use as kind of my base. And then you can make a color palette, but I chose not to. I instead opted for kind of just going with the flow and figuring it out as I go. I love messing around with color, and you'll see that kind of in a little while when I start getting into the coloring. The style of video that I'm doing is called a speed paint, which is where we take about 2 to 3 hours of work. I think I spent close to 3 hours, if not 3 hours and 30 minutes on this one piece alone, including the time that it took for me to sketch. You condense it down and speed it up, and I think this is about 14 minutes in total, which is a lot of time, but we'll see how that goes. Speed paints are really useful for getting an idea of how an artist does their general style. It was helpful for me when I was just starting off learning how to draw, seeing all these artists who I worshipped when I was much younger. You look at their speed paints and you can kind of get a general idea of how they draw and how they do their lines, and it kind of gives you inspiration, if not helps you get better in terms of technique, because you'll see their style and you'll try to emulate that and make it your own. I developed my style, I think, really only recently, within the past 2 years. I've been drawing since I was in the 6th grade, which is about 7 years ago, but I only started digital artwork about 5 years ago after I got my Wacom Bamboo tablet for my birthday in the 8th grade. It has been one of the most interesting experiences, I think I can say, because it's a generally new field of artwork, and it wasn't something that was taught to me at school. I learned it on my own through looking at videos and reading tutorials and kind of just experimenting in my art programs. I use, and I think I've used Paint Tool Sci for 6 years now. It's a really basic but very good art program that I absolutely would recommend to anyone. It does cost about $60 USD. It's in yen, but you can convert it over pretty easily just by searching it in Google. I think one of the things that I definitely would recommend to like new artists is just looking at videos of people drawing or just feeling things out, and definitely looking at references. I mentioned it before that I was looking at drawings or pictures of horses in order to get this design, and that's one of the most important things that you can really get. A lot of people say that it's like cheating, but I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You really need to be able to visualize things and get a good idea of things by looking at it, whether that be in real life or from a picture on the internet, and then you can kind of look at how it's shaped and you can figure out how to draw that on your own. I think I've had a very good experience in the art education field just because I had one teacher in the 6th grade named Miss Kevorkian who really pushed me to start doing art better. I started out kind of being lazy, and although I liked drawing, it wasn't exactly something that I thought I could make a career out of. And so I was a little bit lazy with it. So when I would turn in a project that she would deem insufficient, she'd put it to the side and say, well, you're going to redo this and you're going to do it as it should be. And that was always something that really stuck with me. I don't think I appreciated it at the time as much as I do now, but she definitely was a driving factor in me wanting to do better and wanting to kind of improve my style and kind of get to the place where I am today. That's not to say that, my 6th grade artwork wasn't good for what it was my first year of drawing. I'm sure it was, but if I looked back on it now, I'm sure I'd be mortified by what I saw. It just goes to show how far you can come in such a short amount of time. Even in the 8th grade, my style was much better than it had been in the 6th grade. And now that I'm a senior and I've been drawing pretty frequently for the past 4 years, since the 8th grade, I'm sure I have looked back on the pieces that I've done back then and been mortified by kind of the quality. It just goes to show that you get better and you don't even realize it until you go and you look and see what you've done in the past. So that's another important thing to do, is you look at your old art, even if it's embarrassing or you freak out when you see it and you're like, oh my god, how could I have drawn something like this? That just goes to show that you're getting better and that you're improving. And it's always really good to be able to look back and go, I like parts of this, but I don't like the anatomy, for example. That was something that I really only got good at within the past couple of years. It's complex. Like hands, I still struggle with, and projects like these really help to push you to do better with those certain aspects. From my personal experience, I think art education is really vital to young kids, not only from an academic standpoint, since studies have shown that children who are involved in any sort of the arts, whether that be theater, music, or visual arts, they have statistically higher grades, they are better communicators, they're better problem solvers. I think it's also very important from an emotional standpoint. Art is something that is very expressive, and it's all based on you, and it's a great way to vent your feelings, especially in middle school and in high school. That's very important to live a healthy life, is to be able to express yourself and have a mode that gets rid of a lot of stress. And for me, I know personally that was my outlet. I drew whatever I was feeling that day, and it was really something that helps me get through a lot of difficult days, because I knew that I would be able to get home and I'd be able to sit down at my tablet and I'd be able to draw for, you know, the rest of the day. And that was something that I was always really grateful for, and I think it really helped me develop who I am today, which sounds odd because it's a very intimate one person action, but it definitely helps you. You know, you sit there and you think about yourself and you think about life, and you know, you get lost sometimes in how many hours it can take you to complete a piece, but at the end of it there's this great feeling of satisfaction that I think every child deserves to know. I think not only does it benefit children from an emotional and academic standpoint, but just it makes them better people to have something that they can call their own. And it really, I think, is important to teach in public schools. Right now, we see a lot of the arts budgets getting cut as education is getting cut, and neither of which is good, and that needs to be changed. But seeing the arts cut, it hurts me personally, since it was something that was so important to me. It makes it seem like that's not considered or deemed worthy in our society, when artists are kind of the foundation of our society. Every advertisement you see, every logo, every movie has artists who participate and create these things. Very creative and innovative people who are looking to improve the world in one way or another by bringing more beauty into it and helping people.